All right, he starts with a monopoly, and it's a firm that is the sole seller. Firm that is a sole seller without any close substitutes. Now, how do they come about? You could have a monopoly if you have a key resource. He uses De Beers diamonds. All right. You could have government regulation. The government gives you like a patent or a copyright. You could have geographic. You're like the only gas station in a small town. Okay. Now, all monopolies don't have a key resource. All monopolies are not government regulated. All monopolies do not have geographic. Those are just some of the characteristics.
Only up to 4 years.
All right, just mute everyone. Okay. All right. Then he talks about Owen's key resource, De Beers diamonds. Government created, and government creates the monopolies one of two ways. One, they give a patent. A patent gives like a drug company exclusive rights to make that drug for 20 years. Now, why do they do that? It incentivizes a drug company to spend a lot of money on research, because if they do develop a drug, they're the only one like who can market it for 20 years. So patents, okay, again, incentivize companies to do research. But once you give them this exclusive right, they're a monopoly, prices are higher, quantity is lower, right? The second thing is like a copyright. If you write a book, no one could just copy what you wrote, all right? He then goes on to talk about natural monopolies, and I got a natural monopoly here for electricity. You notice you have a downward sloping ATC, all right? That's a characteristic. A lot of times you'll have the MC like this below it, okay? Now, why do you have this? Economies of scale. So you have economies of scale, all right? And as it says here, ATC is lower if one firm serves 1,000 homes than if two firms serve 500, because like for the electric company, the fixed costs are so high that if you're splitting it up 500 each, your ATC is going to be high, therefore your price is going to have to be high. So a natural monopoly is where one company better serves a market than say 2 or 3. So economies of scale, downward sloping ATC, one company better services the market than 2 or 3. And very high fixed cost. Okay. I don't know what I was looking for here. All right. The next thing he talks about monopolies versus perfect competition. So monopolies, demand is downward sloping. Perfect competition, demand is perfectly elastic. Right? Monopoly, downward sloping demand curve. Perfect competition, perfectly elastic. Monopoly, no close substitutes. Perfect competition, identical substitutes. So monopoly, no close substitutes. Perfect competition, identical substitutes. Monopoly, high price, less quantity. Perfect competition, low price, more quantity. Monopoly, price maker. Perfect competition, price taker. Okay. All right. Then he talks about monopoly revenue. All right. So just a couple of things. And like a lot of people were forgetting this today. So you go where MC equals MR, the profit maximizer. You go up. and across, and that's your price. It's going to make the price $8. You go down, and that's your quantity, and I'll make that $10. All right. Your total revenue is 8 times 10 is $80. Total revenue is price times quantity. All right. Remember, monopolies operate in the elastic part of the curve. The elastic part of the curve. Okay. All right. He then talks about the profit maximizer, which again is MC equals MR. And while I'm here, I mean, MC crosses demand. That's allocatively efficient. Okay, how did this? Someone in the chat. Sebastian, we'll get to profit. I think it's a little later on. Okay. All right, this is allocatively efficient. All right. And actually, since you asked, Sebastian, I'll draw an ATC here. All right. So total profit is, MC equals MR up to price. Now I take it the same line till I hit the ATC curve, and I go across and say that was 4. I could either say 8 minus 4 is I'm making $4 a unit, and 10 units, that's $40. Or I could say total revenue is 8 times 10 is 80. Total cost is 4 times 10 is 40. Okay. And my profit is $40. They're definitely going to ask you to find that total profit box. Okay. You're welcome, CBAS. All right. So we did profit maximizing. Okay. So let's see, could we get, is there a better graph here? And I'll just, all right. So here is the graph, right? And I didn't realize it was here, but again, you took MC equals MR up to price. There's your P. You go to the ATC, there's your ATC. Here is your profit box. The triangle that's developed by taking the the price line down to the profit maximizer, up the MC, and then up the demand is dead weight loss. Okay. I'm then going to go with above the price, below demand. That's consumer surplus. And below the price and above supply, this whole thing would be producer surplus. Okay. Now, consumer surplus and deadweight loss are both triangles. They can be, they could ask you to figure out the number. And just remember, it's a triangle. It's half times base times height. The ATC has nothing to do with deadweight loss. Okay. All right. He then talks about price discrimination. And we did price discrimination. Let's see, do I have a price discrimination graph in here? Because we kind of did it in class today. And there again is, the consumer surplus, monopoly profit. All right, here is price discrimination. And then, like I said today, in the real world, not really possible. Okay. No firm knows every buyers. All right. So what you have to realize is the theory of perfect price discrimination is every buyer is paying what they want to pay. So there's no consumer surplus. There's no deadweight loss. All right. I don't even care about these examples. All right. I thought we were going to have a price. All right. I'll just draw a price. All right. So let me draw a price discrimination graph. All right. So remember, it's Mr. DARP again. So that is Mr. DARP. Okay, so that's marginal revenue equals demand equals average revenue equals price. And I truly believe there'll be questions where you're going to have to know DARP for a monopoly, a regular one, Mr. DARP for price discrimination. MC here. We'll draw an ATC here. All right. All right, remember, where MC crosses ATC, this is productively efficient. All right, I'm just going to mark it PE, productively efficient. That's producing at the least cost. Okay. All right, MC crosses demand, that's allocatively efficient. All right, but now in the price discrimination, we go to where MC equals MR. We take it straight down, and that's our quantity. All right. Then we go MC equals MR down to the ATC and across, and this whole box is our profit. All right. So price discrimination, different prices for different consumers, greater profits, greater quantity, no consumer surplus, no deadweight loss. And there'll be nothing. We talked about the graph today in school. That graph will not be on the quiz, like how to regulate monopolies. All right, so you won't have to know that graph that we talked about today in school. All right, that's pretty much the chapter. I am going to flip up the practice quiz, and I will take questions on anything you would like to ask me about this unit. So you could chat it or turn on your mic. Someone in the chat. You know, you don't need to know the Sherman antitrust for the quiz. Okay. You don't need the public policy, Spiro. All right, can you go over question 6? Yes, let's find question 6 here. All right, it's this graph, right? A profit maximizing monopoly. All right, so curve C is the MC curve. Curve D is the ATC curve. I could tell that because when the MC is greater than the ATC keeps going up. I think it's B is the MR and A is the demand. So I'm going to go where MC equals MR, which is curve C equals curve B, and I'm going to take it up, and I think the price ends up being what is it, P4. All right, B as in broccoli, P4. Kyle, is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they could ask you about each curve. So I would know C is MC, D is ATC, A is demand, B is MR. I'd also know like the profit box, because it's easy for them on, it's not letting me, okay. It's easy for them on a question like this, because your price would be here, to like ask you, what would be the profit box, and you take the price down to D, which is the ATC curve, and across, and then this across like this. And they'd have to put letters there, too, but you know, be wary of that. You know, if they gave you that price at P3, just no consumer surplus above the price and below demand. All right, what is curve C? And then Dylan, I will go over question 12. All right, curve C is MC and curve D is ATC. All right. We go to 12. I gotta first go to mine. All right. Could I get this now? Here we go. All right, 12. How much output would a monopolist produce? All right, I'm going to MC equals MR and then down. So I'm going to get K. Are you good on that, Dylan? Okay, now on this one, I would say again, like MC equals MR, if I took it up to B and then down to the ATC, I could get a profit of like B minus G times K. So I'd be prepared for that. All right, because they're definitely going to ask you about a profit box. Yeah, you always want to go to the profit maximize MC equals MR unless they tell you otherwise. Okay. So again, MC equals MR. There, let's see what else. They could ask you the highest total revenue, which would be at L. They could ask you allocative efficiency, the price, which is MC crossing D. That could be C. Okay, so those are some of the other questions I'd be wary of. Okay. I'm going to scroll up here, and these two charts, 15.1 and 15.2, I would fill them out. Like I would know every spot in there. And you don't really have to fill average revenue out because price equals average revenue. All right, DARP, demand equals average revenue equals price. But I think it's worth, and I think on the video of breaking down every question, I'm pretty sure I went over a lot of the boxes in here. For 15.2, I mean, it's just figuring out marginal cost, right? Which is 140 minus 100, 184 minus 140, 230 minus 180, and so on. Here, you got to first figure out total revenue. So it's going to be 160 times 1, 250. That's going to be 300, 420. Then you're going to have to figure out the marginal revenue. Now, one thing I'll say to you, fixed cost. I want to see what fixed cost is. I go to 0 units. My total cost is 100. So 100 is fixed cost. Okay, can I do, all right. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Your fixed cost is here in case they ask you what is variable cost. And let's just do one. What does the variable cost say for 4 units? Well, I go 0 is 100. I take 280 minus 100, and I know my variable costs are 180. All right, let me just check, because someone asked and I forgot which problem already. All right, number 5. The marginal revenue curve for a monopoly firm start. All right, so Seabass, I think you asked, here is the marginal revenue curve, right? It's B. It's starting at the same point as demand. So remember, that's dark. So it's starting as the same as average revenue. C is marginal cost. It's not starting at the same point as that. It is starting at the same point as the demand curve. So I would go 1 and 3. Any other questions people want me to go over, or questions people have? Okay. I'm going to say in the last quiz, a lot of people got questions wrong, like on boxes or scenarios. I'm giving you these boxes. They're going to be the same boxes like at tomorrow. So you should have those down. Spiro, were you not there? Did you walk away from your computer? Because we just did 5, but I'll do it again for you. The marginal revenue curve for a monopoly firm starts at the same point. I'm going to look at figure 15.5. The marginal revenue curve is curve B. Well, 1, it starts at the same point as demand. So I know 3 is right. I look at marginal cost. No, it doesn't start at the same point as marginal cost. That's wrong. I know that demand is dark. Demand equals average revenue equals price. So this is also the average revenue curve. So it starts there. So it's 1 and 3. Does that make sense, bro? Yeah. Any other questions anyone has? All right, I'll be around at 7:45. Spiro and Seabass, I know we usually meet. I have to cover a class. I wrote you where the class is. You could come and meet me in the class. I'll be in the ARC for a couple of periods tomorrow. I'd also watch my breakdown of every multiple choice question in the practice quiz. Okay, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.
Mr.
Thank you.
Bressler,
Yes.
when we were on the page for or the topics page where you're supposed to access the breakdown of the practice quiz, every time I click on the link, it just brings me back to Calvert Hall.
All right. I'll go send out the breakdown of the practice quiz link right now. Okay.
All
Mr.
right, perfect.
Bressler, you can
Yeah,
actually
Mr.
find
Bressler.
you can actually find your videos if you look up your name on YouTube. You should be able to find your profile and your videos.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that then. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. I'll send it out for people who aren't that as ambitious. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.